Hey guys, it's me again, and this is the third episode of Daydreams and Dawdles. It's a podcast that I plan to do every Sunday, and this is 2 days late? What are we, Tuesday? Or Wednesday now, so 3 days late. Yeah, I have no excuse. I'm not going to make something up. The weekend was pretty lazy, but I ended up being pretty lazy. So, nothing happened. But I did record my vocals for the next D&D horror story, which I will try to get out this week. And I also started working on my Shadowdark campaign setting, the Kingdoms of Iratra, or also known as Epic of Empires. So Iratra is basically a fantasy world that I created way back, early 90s, mid 90s, but it was called Akalorn then, but Akalorn's now become the name of the continent and Iratra is the planet. So yeah, it's gone through a few iterations, and its initial inception when I was a wee lad was a Lord of the Rings ripoff. My first book that I ever wrote, or started to write, when I was in primary school, it would have been the beginning of high school. It was called The War for the Sword, and little did I know that there was already a book called the Sword of Shannara series. So yeah, that whole magical sword thing, that trope, like Sword in the Stone sort of thing. Yeah, it'd been done a million times, unbeknownst to my naive brain. So yeah, I've been working on that and trying to get my head around the mechanics of monster building in Shadowdark, only because I started working on the Reckless Horde, which is my first, I guess it would be a supplement of the Epic of Empires campaign setting, because it's based on orcs and goblins, or the hob race as I call it in my world. So I started writing that in 5e, but then, yeah, as you know, I've decided to go down the Shadowdark route. So I have been going over my notes and slowly learning how to convert them into Shadowdark stats. It's much shorter and neater, I think, and you can fit more monsters on a page, but I'm still doing a monster per page because it gives me real estate to sort of put some designs and pictures and charts and stuff, so, and to buff out the page count. But yeah, so this is not clickbait. The title alludes to the news that the Sigil VTT by Wizards of the Coast is crashing and burning as we speak. I believe 90% of the team was laid off, 30 odd developers. Yeah, it's had a lot of issues. The dungeon... I was going to say the dungeon coach. No, that's not his name. What's his name? It's on my phone. It's one of the big dungeon tubers that I was watching his video. And what is it called? Dungeon Craft, sorry. Professor... the Professor... You know what? I'm having a mind blank, and I'm trying to find his. That was not it. That was Mystic Arts DM. But yeah, so on Dungeon Craft, there's a better video there that pretty much sums up it all. He's pretty concise and very knowledgeable with the events that are happening. So yeah, definitely, I'll link that video in the description. But essentially, they were trying to make, when I say they, I mean Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro was trying to make Dungeons and Dragons into a quasi video game. They were trying so hard, their darndest, to make it essentially a computer game, I would say anyway, and I think a lot of people have been saying the same thing. It seems that the bloated management of Hasbro are not in touch with the core of D&D, I guess, and what the spirit of TTRPGs are or is, which is the human interaction. Obviously, online versions and all the various other online VTTs, but there's still that human element, and it's still got some kind of, like, the VTTs that are currently available are still like a vague sort of presentation, if you will, of what's in the DM's head and all the players, etc. I mean, the graphics can be amazing and the lighting and all that, but in the end, it comes down to storytelling and the players at the table. So, and I believe that that the system requirements for Sigil was also, I don't know, is it underestimated or overestimated? Most players, don't have gaming PCs, so running the software would be a bit of a challenge. I hear that some people were able to use it on their standard, business laptops, but when you're hosting a game, that's a different story. When everyone's piling in and resources start getting hogged, and it's just not pretty for them right now. So I haven't downloaded it myself, and I don't intend to. I'm using the complete opposite. I'm using probably the most simplistic of all the VTTs, which is Owlbear. Man, I love that platform. It's so, like, I don't know, it's basic, but it's got so much freedom, like allowing to import tokens and things on the fly, and so quick, like straight to the map sort of thing. You can just drag and drop from your desktop. I mean, I don't know, it depends on what you want. I sort of have my way of doing things, and it just works for me. But I don't know, I think a lot of the other older dungeon tubers, the grognards, are right. I think all the talk that eventually Hasbro will turn the whole Dungeons and Dragons IP into just something that they can lease out, or make video games for, movies, TV series, and it essentially will be forgotten or not as looked after as a evolving TTRPG with more like expansion, like new rules and more quests, etc. That's what most people in the zeitgeist of TTRPG YouTubers have been saying. So whether that's true or not, I think the community is pretty strong. Like, we're a tough bunch. We've gone through a lot with the OGL scandal and all the other stuff, and I think that as everyone else is saying, that the independent scene is like really flourishing, like really well. People are making millions from crowdfunding, Shadowdark, and all the other awesome ones that are out there, D20 and etc. Sorry, DC20, D20, DC20. And I eventually hope to one day, when I get my little following up there, to do my own crowdfunding, because I got a million bajillion ideas. Obviously my Shadowdark campaign setting of Iratra. I also have some other campaign settings which would work really well with the Shadowdark rules. So my Hollow World series, which I've been planning for years, and oh man, I also want to make, there's so many things I want to do, and whether I do them or not, I mean, hell, I can't even get this video released on a Sunday, so how am I going to get all my ideas made? But if you can't tell, I do use AI, shamelessly, I should say. I'm not, I don't try to hide it, and I've spoken about it before, but if I was to, or when I am, because I do plan to try and do this, sell my ideas, I'll be using real artists, and whether they use it, whatever, because I hear that artists have been using it themselves to help with their production. I don't know. It's a topic I don't want to touch, because I know that there's a lot of people who probably wouldn't even subscribe to me because I use AI, which is fair enough. But yeah, it's a tool, but it does have its downsides with the whole, stealing or learning from other people's work. There are, I believe, AI out there that learn from artists who are compensated. So, I can't think of the term, but there's a term for it. It's like, the good version of AI. I'm not sure if the models that I use that. I use Kling and Midjourney, which I think Midjourney's the biggest, but I think it has the most controversy. Ironically, I used to be an artist back in the day, and then I sort of drifted away from that and started focusing more on film, and my brother, who was not as good as me as an artist, just shot up, and now he's like amazing. Just like blown away, I can't even speak, blown away by his talent. But yeah, anyway, I am drifting, but that's Sigil. And well, that's the news of Sigil, and you've probably already heard it, and not from my channel. But how I feel about it all, I never plan to use Sigil, so like I said before, it doesn't have any effect on me per se. I mean, it sounds like a cool concept, but it does err on the side of video games, and I mean, what's the point? I mean, you can put all this effort into like a, fully 3D, etc., kind of like immersive world. What's the point in rolling dice? You might as well just turn it into a computer game. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's the point of walking around in like an explorative world, or even if he's just clicking and dragging and moving a still avatar around? What's the point? I mean, like, the environment looks amazing. You might as well make a computer game. So. But, I think the VTT tabletops, although they're expensive and few and far between, the actual physical tabletops are amazing. That would be cool if everyone could get one of those, but it's like a giant pool table thing, clunky screen thing, and expensive, and most people probably don't have a place to put it, so I don't know. The future of TTRPGs is interesting, but I'm here for it. I'm here for it all. But today, I would also like to talk about my endeavors into Shadowdark, or my journey into character creation, monster creation. So I decided to eeny, meeny, miny, mo, choose one of the monsters from my 30 monsters that I've conceptualized. Some of them are very old and they date back to the 90s when I was a kid, so I've kept those ones. And some of them are brand new that I've just come up with, so I came up with a solid 30 for this release. I just thought on it, like, I was thinking to do 50, even on one crazy stage 100, but I just, you know what, I just want to get stuff out there, and it takes a lot to conceptualize, and then now I've got to get the ruling, the monster creation, like the stat block and all that kind of stuff for each one, so that's going to be a nightmare. But I'm more of a lore guy, so I love writing, so I think the lore behind it, the lore pages, the history of the hob race and the sub races, orcs, goblins, gremlins, cyclops, trolls, ogres, etc., all the sub races, I'm keen to write all that. but the the nightmare is the stuffing around with the stat blocks, and hopefully they're balanced. But you know what? This is going to be a free document, so I don't care. If it sucks, tell me, and I'll try and go through and fix them up. But the monster that I have decided to do today is the Ankylos, or the Ankylos. Yeah, I think it is Ankylos. Ankylos. You'll probably see him on screen now, maybe, if I've put him up on the screen, because I normally with these podcasts I just want to put a looping animation so I don't have to think about what I'm putting up. But actually, no, you know what? I'm not going to put it on the screen because I am lazy. So I'm going to leave my animation doing its thing, minus the white flash from the previous video, which was annoying someone's eyes. That won't be in it. But the link for the Ankylos will be in the description below. So have a look at that. That's my first attempt at a Shadowdark monster. So I'll describe him for the listeners of today. Don't mind the creaky chair. I'm so professional with my podcasts. So the Ankylos, so the Hob race, they live in a desolate land called Drakand. It's a very cliche name, but Drakand, or the Bloodlands, used to be human territory, but it was conquered by the Hob race over time through wars. And there was a massive event called the God Wars, and the ground was basically polluted with this chaotic energy, which causes mutations. And the ogre warlords who control the Hob race, they have this region called the Chaos Pits, which are beneath the mountain ranges, the capital city. And they basically think of, like, I know it's very similar, but think of the orc creation in Lord of the Rings, the film, not the actual canon, the books, but the film, where Peter Jackson's rendition, where the orcs are born in these giant vats. That's pretty much like the Chaos Pits, except a little bit more darker and disturbing, let's just say. A lot of experimentation goes on in the Chaos Pits. Let's get some water. But yeah, in the Chaos Pits, Ankylos were one of the monsters that were created. And think of Darth Maul, I guess would be a good example. Really spiky fellow. It's pretty much what an Ankylos looks like. It's a bony, spiky-faced orc. The body's covered in spikes as well, like bony ridge, and ridges just tearing through its flesh. And its flesh looks like it's sort of like gaunt. It's very skeletal. I can't even speak English. And its nose is pretty much sheared off. It's like it basically looks like a skull with the orc teeth, but it's still got skin and sunken eyes. It's horrendous to look at, and it spits like an acid kind of spit in part of its attack, and it favors the Morning Star. Or the I always get this wrong. I always thought Morning Star is the ball and chains with spikes, and the mace is like the club with the spikes. But I swear I've read somewhere it's the other way around. The mace is the one with the chain. I'll look at that and I'll fix up my my PDF that I'll put in the links below. But regardless, it's the one with the chain, and it likes spiked weapons, obviously, because it represents like itself. It's embodied as itself into these weapons. So maces or Morning Stars is its preferred weapon. So here, after going over the creation guide and various other websites on what the average is, I've settled on an armor class of 14. I was going to go 15, but I thought it was too much, and that's plate armor. These have like leathery, sort of bony skin, so it is it does have kind of resistance to slashing a little bit, but not really. So it's not as resilient as like plate mails or plate armor. So AC 14, I settled on 24 hit points. Now I know it's kind of weird because with the monsters in Shadowdark, it's a D8 die per level. So if it has 5 levels, you roll 5 D8s and then you tally it up as the hit point pool, the hit point for that monster. So I thought 24 is quite low, but then I looked at the I use a site called Shadowdark Tools. It's shadowdarktools.com/reference, and you can filter the monsters by level, etc., and various other aspects of the creature. And when I look at the level 5 monsters, their hit points sort of vary, and they range between, I think it's 23 to 25, 25 being the highest for bigger beasts like I think it was brown bears, maybe? Yeah, basilisks, brown bears, and I think it was the hippopotamus. I don't know, it's a 24. But yeah, 23 to 25 is the hit point pool. I was going to go 25, but I thought, well, a brown bear's quite large. The Ankylos could be almost as tall, maybe not so. Maybe it's basically a large orc, so I always thought orcs are like 6 foot to 7 foot, something like that. But it's not as thick and heavy set as a brown bear, so I just took it down to 24 hit points. What else do I have on this monster? It has a Morning Star. It gets 2 attacks, so I believe 2 attacks is standard for a level 5. It has a +4, and it does 1d8 damage. You don't get any strength bonuses in Shadowdark for damage or proficiency bonuses because there is no proficiency, and your plus attacks can never exceed your level, I believe. So +4 is just shy of level 5. It does the acid spit. There's no limit, which I found interesting because I was going through the D&D stats, and there was like, recharging, or there's like once per blah 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 long rest or whatever. It's kind of weird, but it's cool. I like it that you can just be deadly like that. You can just keep spitting. So there's the acid spit for near distance. It's a dex save of DC 14, instead of 2d6 acid spit, which I saw some monsters in the Shadowdark core book had. I decided to do 3d6 because most of those monsters were smaller than a level 5, so I thought level 5 give it an extra 1d6. Movement near, strength +4, dex +0, charisma plus not charisma. What am I doing? I'm having a mind blank. Strength, dex, con. Con plus, I was going to say charisma +3. These guys are hideous. Okay, sorry, Ankylos, I didn't mean to upset your feelings. The constitution +3, intelligence -2, wisdom +1, charisma -1, and it has its alignment is chaotic evil, and it's a level 5. The 2 special abilities I gave it, rage, which is a standard across some of the monsters in Shadowdark, which gives it 1 per day immune to morale checks, and it gets plus 1d4 damage for 3 rounds, and then it's exhausted that ability. And then I created a new special ability, which was not in the Shadowdark monster bestiary. It's called Spiked Hide, and it basically reads if hit with a melee weapon from a near range, the attacker must make a DC 12 dex or take 1d4 damage. So basically, if you're hitting it with like a short range, like a short sword or a dagger, or hitting it within near, actually maybe that needs to be close. I think close is 5 feet. Yeah, I'm going to change that to close because near is up to 30. Yeah, it's got to be close, and basically when you're hitting it, you've just got to be dexterous with your blow so that you don't basically get stabbed by the creature's skin. Your fist doesn't graze into a spike, or you swing your sword, and then as you're turning your hip with the swing, your arm grazes into it, or you trip, you're up close, so you bump into it or whatever. You within distance to be stabbed basically by this creature. I should have put grab, like it grabs and pulls you in. Might add that. Yes, I might add that. Okay, and so it reads, the Ankylos are fearsome orcish creatures bred in the chaos pits beneath Drakand through dark shamanistic rituals. With leathery skin bristling with bone-like spikes, they serve ogre warlords as bodyguards and gladiators. Their bile is highly acidic, capable of melting flesh and armor alike. I did put that in there for a bit of flavor, but maybe not armor. I might change that. Used for their ferocity and resilience, and Ankylos in battle is a terrifying sight, capable of withstanding relentless assaults and wreaking havoc on their enemies with brutal efficiency. Armed with a massive morning star, they crush their foes with overwhelming strength and corrosive bile. Yes, they love war, so they're always seen as they're always used as like gladiators or bodyguards when you're going into a fray and you're going to be the main target. They're pretty much like, bring it on, we want to be at the front of that. And they seem to also be the main soldiers used in the chaos pits because of their resilience to temperature changes and the acid pits and people's misery. They're pretty much much more hardened than standard orcs. But I also put in a d6, a 1d6 loot table. I don't know why I said but. I mean also. But to your disappointment, there's a loot table. And so yeah, I've got that one in there, and it's got a few trinkets and stuff which I just randomly generated. Doesn't really matter. But yeah, that is my first attempt at making a Shadowdark monster, and that's what I spent this afternoon doing, and I hope it holds up. I'll make those little changes before I publish this video, but yeah. And one other thing before I finish this podcast on roughly 30 minutes, I have also created a not hidden, but an unlisted YouTube video, which is going to be think of it as like a landing page or a splash page, as I used to call it back in the day, where you go as the first page for a site or whatever. But this is going to be unlisted so that I don't clutter my main channel with my my lore videos related to my campaign setting, but also all my releases are going to be through here. So I'm going to fill out the description in the video, and it's going to have links to when I release something like an ebook or whatever. It'll be in that description, and I'll always prompt that video in my other videos. I'll always like advertise it so that people can go and check it out. At the moment there's nothing there because I haven't released anything, but I have put up a cool animated video of my avatar, the Phoenix, just in a nest full of trinkets, and my theme song, which I got a friend to create from a melody that I came up with. So this is the theme song for Epic of Empires campaign setting, EOE. And yeah, so that link will be in the description below as well. So if you want to click on that, that'll take you to where my future releases will be advertised and linked. I know people use websites, and I'm just too I don't know. I want to keep everything in one place, and if that means I have to, and this is pretty like, this is not conventional, I would say, what I'm doing. Using a YouTube video as my main page for my essentially my storefront for my my releases. If I do plan to sell stuff in the future, it'll obviously be through like drive-through, or maybe I'll have another method of presenting it. But at the moment, this is early days, man. Like, I've got less than 200 subscribers. I'm still underground, damn it. So I'm going to keep everything on this YouTube video description page. Like I said, the first ebook is going to be The Reckless Horde. It's going to detail the hob race and how it's splintered into all the various sub-races, orcs and goblins, gremlins, etc. And the ogres, who are the leaders, less in number, but the strongest of the hobs. And nothing like, I don't know, D&D and World of Warcraft, and maybe even Warhammer, how they have ogres as like just like a small giant, basically, that likes to eat things. If you look at some of the artwork, man, of like Warhammer, like the Ogre Horde Hero Quest expansion, or the ogres, the actual ogre figurines, like these like they have these like top knots, and they're like huge fat dudes, and they're like usually pale skin. So, and I swear they look like Mongolians, like warlords or something like that. They made them out to be. But my ogres are nothing like that. And if that's how you envision your ogres, then fair enough. Like these big fat corpulent, forever eating giants, then that's fine. You can go with that. But my ogres, because like I said before, I was inspired by fighting fantasy, and in the Out of the Pit book, the ogres actually look more sort of muscular, more like a large orc. And as a kid growing up in the 80s and the 90s, I just envisioned ogres to be just like your sort of general, like the big, get in line, like yelling over the top of an army of orcs, telling them what to do. They're basically giant orcs, and very strong and not forever eating. So they're more military, strategic kind of minded creatures. But that's my interpretation. You can keep using your, if you decide to take from my supplements, that's cool. But you can still keep using your giant fat ogres who like to eat everything. But my ogres are not like that. And they're not part of the giant family. So, but yeah, I don't know why I got distracted, but that is it for it. That is it for tonight. My brain is fried. Thank you for staying with me. I will be releasing my horror story next, sometime this week, hopefully before the end of the week. And yeah, that's it. Before I go, I was going to do a tier list, a dungeon tuber tier list of my favorite dungeon tubers. I'll try not to be mean and put too many people in the lower tier, because, that's just super judgmental. But anyway, guys, thanks for listening, and I will see you later. Bye.